Rating Framework, GSIRF, among others. The KCG, established by the Department of Education and described beautifully in your document, is in response to the very theme of the current century, namely a gateway to the future, where the human world will at last come together as a family to create a network of relationships through harmonizing threads of knowledge. The GSIRF is an initiative by Knowledge Consortium of Gujarat and ICARE, an institution chaired by Sri Mohandas Pai and Vice Chairman Dr. Karthik Sridhar, which has been undertaking major efforts to help improve the quality of institutions in Gujarat for the past 3 years. I have learned through the GISIRF, the Gujarat University, of which I am the proud alumni, have been able to secure a strong position in the top 100 of the NIRF rankings for 2 consecutive years. I'm also confident that even as Gujarat takes a leadership role in implementing this policy, there will be several innovative outcomes that one can expect and which is unique to the state of Gujarat. At this stage, I find it appropriate to say a few words about the policy itself. With this last education policy formulated nearly 30 years ago, India now leads an educational system aligned with the aspirational goals of 21st century education, where, while remaining rooted to India's value systems and ethos. The vision of India's new educational system has been crafted to ensure that it touches the life of each and every citizen, consistent with their needs and necessities, besides creating a just and equitable society. The policy provides an integrated yet flexible approach to education. Further, it has kept the interconnectedness of the various phases in mind and how the same will enable continuity, coherence, and processes to ultimately realize an end to end education roadmap for the country. This policy recommends the creation of a national research foundation for this purpose. The benefit of the research funding will be available to both private and public funded institutions. A light but tight mechanism for regulation is envisaged under this policy, again applicable without distinction between private and public institutions, providing a more cohesive structure for the higher educational institutions in the context of teaching and research, ensuring increased autonomy and empowered governance and effective leadership are the other features of the policy. On the whole, the policy aims at the development of all the requisite skills that are pertinent to the contemporary world for the learners, while giving enough flexibility in making choices consistent with the dynamics of a knowledge society. Needless to mention, the policy for its implementation does call for ensuring integration of different stages of education with its complexities and challenges. The Ministry of Education has already taken several steps in the context of specific implementation actions, particularly where the corresponding initiative does not call for changes in legal structures. For example, in the context of access, equity, and inclusion, at least 20 engineering colleges across 10 states will offer engineering courses in 6 Indian languages from 2021-2022, translation of MOOCs in Indian languages, sharing of infrastructure and resources among institutes, and creation of virtual laboratories, creation of student support centers for counseling physical and psychosocial well-being, among others. On the issues of quality, the National Higher Education Framework is in the final stages, as also is the development of Learning Outcome-Based Curriculum Framework, LOCF, for experiential learning, initiatives for establishment of a national research foundation, as also guidelines for internationalization of higher education. They have been also issued. Similar steps have been taken in the context of strengthening Indian knowledge systems in higher education curricula. Guidelines for mentoring new faculty and integration of technology, such as establishment of National Educational Technology Forum (NETF) and National Digital Education Architecture (NDF), are some of the other aspects which are in progress. In a major transformatory step towards providing flexibility and support for lifelong learning, the policy has brought into the notion of an academic bank of credit, ABC. The ABC promises to be a game changer, allowing youth to choose the appropriate time in their career to take courses as needed and providing them with the flexibility of accumulating credits over a period of time towards appropriate degrees. When combined with the multiple entry and multiple exit option also provided by the NEP, the ABC enables anytime learning, anywhere learning, and any level learning as envisaged in NEP. It can facilitate the integration of campuses and distributed learning systems by creating student mobility within inter and intra-university systems. I may mention ABC will also support lifelong learning since students will be able to accumulate credits towards their degrees over a period of time. In this context, it is gratifying to note that Gujarat has taken several early steps which in a sense, besides making the state an early bird in the overall race for reaching the substantial goals of NEP, will also provide unique and innovative examples for many institutions in the country to emulate. I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for giving me this privilege to address this august gathering. I look forward to the state of Gujarat to become a torch bearer of the legacy of this country's long and eventful history as a knowledge society. I wish the state the very best in this endeavor. Thank you.
It was indeed a pleasure listening to this enlightening keynote message of Mr. K. Kasturi Rangan. And we now move on to addresses. We invite Mr. Andreas, Director for Education and Skills, OECD, for his address.
Chief Minister, Ministers and ladies and gentlemen, first of all, my congratulations to the state of Gujarat for the leadership you provide to advance the global education agenda. And the world needs your leadership now more than ever. If we have learned one thing over the last months, it's that the future will always surprise us. Life is always what happens when you're very busy making other plans. And to prepare learners for their future and not just our past, we need to consider not just the changes that are likely to happen, but also the ones that we are not expecting. And the more we are open to alternative futures, the better we are prepared for the future that eventually arrives. Today we still have analog schools, but they are just waking up to the digital reality that is going to fundamentally transform learning. We know how to educate second-class robots, people who are good at repeating what we have told them, but what it's going to make us human in a world in which the kind of things that are easy to teach and test have also become easy to digitize and automate. The NEP 2020 provides key answers to those questions, and once again, it's great to see Gujarat in the lead of making it a reality. So what could transformation really look like? Well, think of full personalization of content and pedagogy enabled by cutting-edge technology using body information, neural signals. Think of flexible individual and group work on academic topics, but also on social and community needs. Reading and calculating as much as debating and reflecting in joint conversations. But also think about hands-on work and creative expression that makes vocational education not a last resort, but a truly first choice. And it's great to see Gujarat schools also becoming learning hubs, using the strengths of communities to deliver collaborative learning, integrating formal and informal learning in ways that completely shift time and relationships. And let's remember that learning is never a transactional business. It's always a social or relational enterprise. And maybe one day we wake up and artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality, and the Internet of Things will give us true ownership over what we learn, how we learn, when we learn, throughout our lives. You think that's far-fetched? No, but think about, 10 years ago, what we would have thought about our phones and smart assistants today. And at the OECD, we have constructed many scenarios for the future of education, and the future could be any combination of them. And obviously, it's looking different in different places. But let's also think about some tensions and dilemmas we will need to resolve. What is the right balance between modernizing education and disrupting it? How do we reconcile new goals, such as the NEP 2020, with our existing structures? How do we support globally minded learners and teachers who remain still rooted in their local cultures and tradition? How do we enable learners not just learn for a job, but learn to create a job? And obviously in an entrepreneurial state like Gujarat, that answer is particularly important. How do we make lifelong, life-wide learning a reality? I know that Gujarat is finding good answers to those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those warm words of praise for the state and its leadership. We now invite Ms. Monica Kennedy, Deputy Consul General, Australia, for her address.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. Thank you, Honourable Chief Minister, to ministers and dignitaries here, and to the large gathered group of the global education community who is here together to engage with Gujarat on the education of the future. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak with you here at this auspicious event. I'm Dr. Monica Kennedy. I'm representing the Australian Government in my role as the Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner. And I'm really glad to have the opportunity to speak to you at such an important time in the India-Australia relationship. Certainly, the relationship between our nations is very strong, has never been stronger, and the intersection of India's national education policy with Australia's international education strategy of 2030 gives us a real opportunity to focus on building career opportunities for Indian and Australian youth through education in preparation for skills for the 21st century. Skills for the future in Australia, as it is here in India, rely on interdisciplinarity, on diversity, on access, on creative thinking, on thinking about and working towards an empowered society supported by technology. At Austrade, we're very keen to develop partnerships that will build the prosperity for both of our nations and the skills and futures of our youth. Thank you very much for having us here today.
Thank you, ma'am. We now invite Mr. Fabian, Scientific and Higher Education Attaché for Scientific and Academic Cooperation, France, for his address.
Honourable Chief Minister, Honourable Ministers, members of the government, academic leaders, fellow mate delegates, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having France at this wonderful event. Our ambassador is on his way to come next week with a delegation of 40. So that shows and tells a lot about the ties, the friendship, an old-standing friendship between France and India. there is just one message from France here. You know, if you are into education, and you have noticed some shifts and changes in the scene that is happening in France at the moment. You have seen newly named institutions climbing up the ladder of rankings. Just one fact, if you take the major ranking systems, QS, the THE, or you can go to the ARW, the public system for education, our universities, are represented in this ranking by a proportion of 33, a third, to 40%. 40% of our public institutions are ranked in the global ranking in the world. So this comes with another change, which is the change in the perception and image. France is, of course, as you know, the country where you have studies and lifestyle, luxury, etc. But France is also a country of science, technology, and it reclaims this position it had by doing relationship, by doing international cooperation, especially with India, where the ties are getting stronger and stronger as we move on with time. So the message again here is you will see France, if you really want to have a look at it, you will see us in India. We have 14 Alliances Françaises on all the territory. We have 12 Campus France agencies where you can ask questions about the reality of education in France. And in a world that, as you know, is fairly focused on Anglo-Saxon studies, it is good, I think, for the youth of the country to know that France is back and there is an alternative. There are other possibilities for the students, for the researchers, for the faculty to get in cooperation with, and France would be one of these possibilities. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now invite Mr. Keith Khan, Consul and Senior Trade Commissioner, Canada, for his address.
Chief Minister Patel, distinguished ministers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Keith Khan, and I'm the Consul and Senior Trade Commissioner at the Canadian Consulate in Mumbai. First, I'd like to congratulate the organizers for bringing together such an impressive group of participants from government, academia, and industry. It is an honor to be with you today. I'm part of the Trade Commissioner Service, or TCS, a Government of Canada organization helping Canadian companies navigate international markets. In India, we have 8 offices and 50 officers facilitating cross-border trade and investment between Canada and India, including the education sector. To begin, let me just say a few words about the Canada-India commercial relationship. It is becoming increasingly clear that India is one of Canada's fastest-growing economic partners. The number of Canadian companies active in India continues to grow and now exceeds 1,000. And around 500 Canadian companies have physical presence in India. The number of Indian companies in Canada is also increasing, and a number of them have chosen Canada as an investment destination. One factor that contributes to the strength of our relationship in virtually all areas is the strong people-to-people ties. India is now Canada's largest source country in all migration categories. And if you look, there are 1.4 million Canadians that trace their roots back to India. And if you consider that there are now 34 flights weekly between our two countries, you can see the scale of our people-to-people connections. Now turn to the strong Canada-India academic relationship. Our two countries have signed an MOU in higher education in 2010 and renewed it in 2015. There is a joint working group that was established to oversee this MOU and its implementation. Organizations such as MITAX and Shastri Indo-Canada Institute are acting as key facilitators to enable student mobility funding programs with the support of government. and more Canadian universities and colleges are collaborating with Indian institutions in research, joint programs, student and faculty exchanges. Over 550 such collaborations are currently active across all disciplines. Canada has also been active in India's education space. Here is just a few examples. At the preschool level, there's the Maple Bear schools that have been in India since 2003. In higher education, Schulich School of Business offers their MBA and graduate programs in India and has a campus in Hyderabad. In Canada, Indian students formed the biggest incoming cohort globally, and over 180,000 Indian students chose to study in Canada in 2020. There are several reasons why Indian students choose Canada and their institutions, including its student-centric approach, innovative programs, including the cooperative education with real-life working experience, and its high-quality education programs at an affordable cost in a safe, welcoming, and multicultural environment. To conclude, I am glad that despite the challenges of the pandemic, we are gathered here today. It is inspiring to see everyone discussing ways to improve the quality of education and to equip the future generation with knowledge, skills, and tools in our fast-changing global and competitive environment. I wish everyone a productive discussions today. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, sir. May we now invite Mr. Man Singh Sidhu, Councillor, S&T and Higher Education, Norway, to share his address with us.
Thank you. Honorable Chief Minister, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Namaskar. I would like to start off by thanking the organizers for inviting the Royal Norwegian Embassy, Innovation Norway, and the Team Norway in India for this interesting international conference. International cooperation is a key instrument for enhancing the quality of Norwegian higher education and research. Building long-term relations with partners in the other world, including India, is essential in terms of gaining new insight and new knowledge. India is increasing influential global player. Developments in India have a significant impact on how essential or successful the world is in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal and global climate targets. In the world's largest democracy and rapidly growing emerging economy, for all the reasons and many more, India is increasingly important strategic partner for Norway. Norway government has two important strategies emphasized to need the strengthened Indo-Norwegian cooperation. The first one is India-Norway 2030 strategy. And this strategy is prioritized area for strategic cooperation on research and higher education, as well as there are several thematic areas have been identified in this strategy. To name some is ocean, energy, climate, environment, and global health are important thematic areas where we are looking forward to collaborate with India. The second strategy is Paradhan strategy, where Norway has identified 9 different strategic important country partners across the world, and India is one of them, where we are highlighting student exchange, staff exchange, student mobility in that strategy. Several bilateral projects have been funded with India. To name some: bioeconomy, health, ICT, nanotechnology, climate change, clean energy has been successfully launched between India and Norway. We do have MOU with DST, Government of India, and several joint working groups have been actively working with Indian government. As we are unfortunately know that current COVID-19 pandemic has posed a great challenge to international cooperation. Due to strict travel restriction, the mobility of students and researchers have been reduced drastically, and many research projects are struggling. At the same time, we have also seen that international cooperation is also important than ever. We are fully committed to cooperation with India in the area of higher education research, and we hope that both can send and receive students and academic staff, as well as participate in the joint research project with our counterparts in India. We do have several projects going on with Gujarat institutes and universities. To name this, we need to accelerate more. So, having said that, I'm looking forward to have more cooperation with Gujarat and Gujarat universities. Thank you.
We next invite Ms. Rashi Jain, Director, British Council, UK, for her address.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Bhupendra Bhai Patel ji, and Honorable Education Minister Shri Jitu Bhai Bhagwani ji, key officials of the Gujarat government and the Union government, dignitaries on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen and delegates. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us here. This is a brilliant conference. I'm Rashi Jain. I represent British Council and the UK delegation here today. And I'm very happy that Gujarat has been able to get this fantastic gathering of world's top academic brains and policymakers for ICII 22. And a big thank you and congratulations to Gujarat for that. As you may know, British Council is UK government's international education and cultural links organization with a strong focus on partnering with government stakeholders to create opportunities for young students to help them excel in future. And we know young students are the future of the world. We also know that education is too important to be just left to the educators. And I think this is conferences like these, the platforms like these are the ones which give a true measure of collaboration and bringing all the minds together to work towards providing inclusive and equitable education to all. And I again thanks Gujarat for giving this opportunity to all the world leaders to be here. Why is Gujarat important for UK? With 1.6 million Britons of Indian descent, of which I'm glad to say Gujarati community accounts for over 45%, the India-UK relationship has established a highly educated and economically diverse and dynamic living bridge between the two countries. This is precisely the reason, again very proud to say, Honorable Chief Minister, that United Kingdom continues to be the only country with a full diplomatic presence in Gujarat, and we are proud to be partner country for the vibrant Gujarat since inception. This commitment was further strengthened when, in May last year, our two Prime Ministers, Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Boris Johnson and Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, virtually met and signed the iconic India-UK 10-year roadmap 2030, which has become an actionable blueprint of mutual collaboration between the two countries for the coming decade. While I would have loved to also tell you about what is contained in the roadmap, as a lot of it is about education, cultural connects, I think the time won't permit me to that. So I would also like to here mention that we very strongly believe that both nations are dedicated to expanding university cooperation, and the United Kingdom is eager to join India's new education policy and contribute to its success. But the collaboration would be incomplete without Gujarat taking part in it. And we also very strongly feel that unless Gujarat and UK work together, success of this roadmap would be a completely distant dream. In Gujarat, the first step in realizing this has been the MOU with the Department of Higher Education to enable more UK-Gujarat higher education collaboration. While the list of initiatives that we have done here jointly with the government of Gujarat is extensive, it would be unfair to conclude without highlighting a few of the numerous examples of collaboration that demonstrate the excellent work that has already begun as part of the Gujarat-UK partnership. To quote a few, since 2014, we have had 7 UK research and innovation bilateral projects with lead Indian research organizations from Gujarat as part of the UK's commitment, with a total investment of £2.7 million across them, match funded by the Government of India. The recently concluded British Council's Going Global Partnership Grant Programme has resulted in 3 strong consortiums between Gujarat universities and UK universities, such as the University of Birmingham, University of Arts London, and Ashton University. These grants, we are very hopeful, will act as a seed fund towards initiating multiple transnational education, exploratory and collaborative partnerships between Gujarat and UK universities. I'm extremely pleased to announce as well that British Petroleum and Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University are at final stages of a partnership for upskilling of more than 1,000 youth as part of the ambitious youth skilling program of Gujarat and supporting PM scholarship program. Last but certainly not the least, I'm very, very proud again, Honorable CM, to announce that Gujarat has led the way in internationalization by establishing the first of its kind partnership with Edinburgh University to extend support in setting up the new Gujarat Biotechnological University, confirming the vision that if India has reportedly become the world's pharmacy, and we all know that in COVID, Gujarat has become the world's lab. You will hear more about this in the panel discussion later today. I once again would like to reaffirm our commitment as country partners for this conference and for Vibrant Gujarat, and express my gratitude to the organizers for painstakingly bringing us all together under one roof and contributing towards Gujarat's knowledge ambitions. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Gujarat, under the creative leadership of its Chief Minister, Shri Bhupendra Patel, is all set to become an education hub at national and international level, committed to augment skill development and employability skills for a knowledge-based economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite Honorable Chief Minister Shri Bhupendra Patel for his address with a thunderous round of applause.
વાયબ્રન્ટ ગુજરાત 2022 અંતર્ગત ગરવી ગુજરાતના આંગણે આયોજિત ઇન્ટરનેશનલ કોન્ફરન્સ ઓન એકેડેમિક ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યુશનના કાર્યક્રમમાં મારી સાથે મંચ ઉપર ઉપસ્થિત શિક્ષણ વિભાગના મારા વડીલ મુરબ્બી કેબિનેટ મંત્રી શ્રી જીતુભાઈ વાઘાણી, રાજ્ય કક્ષાના મંત્રી શ્રી કુબેરભાઈ ડિંડોર, રાજ્ય કક્ષાના મંત્રી શ્રી કીર્તિસિંહ વાઘેલા, શ્રમ અને રોજગાર અને તથા પંચાયત મંત્રી શ્રી બ્રિજેશભાઈ મેરઝા, અમારા રાજ્યસભાના સાંસદ શ્રી નરહરિભાઈ અમીન, સાંસદ શ્રી પરબતભાઈ પટેલ, પૂર્વ ગૃહમંત્રી શ્રી પ્રદીપસિંહ જાડેજા, કેન્દ્રીય શિક્ષણ સચિવ શ્રીમતી અનિતા કરવાલ, કેન્દ્રીય ઉચ્ચ શિક્ષણ સચિવ શ્રી સંજય મૂર્તિ, મુખ્ય સચિવ શ્રી ગુજરાત પંકજ કુમાર, રાજ્યના શિક્ષણ સચિવ શ્રી એસ જે હૈદર, પ્રાથમિક અને ઉચ્ચ શિક્ષણ સચિવ શ્રી વિનોદ રાવ, નીતિ આયોગના શિક્ષણ સલાહકાર શ્રી પ્રેમસિંહ, એઆઈસીટી ચેરમેન શ્રી ડૉક્ટર અનિલ સહસ્ત્રબુદ્ધે, સૌ અધિકારીગણ, વિવિધ દેશોમાંથી પધારેલ શિક્ષણ ક્ષેત્રના સૌ ગણમાન્ય મહાનુભાવો, યુનિવર્સિટીના સૌ કુલપતિ ઉપકુલપતિ, અગ્રગણી નાગરિકો, ભાઈઓ અને બહેનો, પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદીએ ભારતને જ્ઞાન વિજ્ઞાનના ક્ષેત્રે વિશ્વગુરુના સ્થાને બિરાજિત કરવાના શિક્ષણ સુધારાની નવી પહેલ કરી છે. માન્ય પ્રધાનમંત્રીના દૂરંદેશી માર્ગદર્શનના 3.5 દાયકા બાદ દેશમાં નવી નેશનલ એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસીની રચના કરવામાં આવી છે. આ નેશનલ એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસી નવા ભારતના નિર્માણમાં બહુ જ મહત્વપૂર્ણ ભૂમિકા નિભાવવાની છે. આદરણીય પ્રધાનમંત્રીના આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતના સંકલ્પને આ નીતિ બળ આપશે. આપણે આત્મનિર્ભર ગુજરાતથી આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતના નિર્માણમાં યોગદાન આપવા સંપૂર્ણ પ્રતિબદ્ધ અને સજ્જ છીએ. મારું માનવું છે કે આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતનો ધ્યેય પરિપૂર્ણ કરવા એનઈપીના માધ્યમથી વિશ્વભરના પ્રતિષ્ઠિત શિક્ષણવિદો, યુનિવર્સિટીના તજજ્ઞો આ વિચાર મંથન ગુજરાતને ગ્લોબલ એજ્યુકેશન હબ બનાવશે. આધુનિક જમાનાને અનુરૂપ આ નવી પોલિસીના અત્યંત અગત્યના પાસાઓ ઉપર મનોમંથન, વિચાર, ચિંતન કરવા માટે વિશ્વના શિક્ષણ ક્ષેત્રના અગ્રણી તજજ્ઞો આજે એક મંચ ઉપર ઉપસ્થિત થયા છે તે ઘણી આનંદની વાત છે. કેનેડા, ઓસ્ટ્રેલિયા, યુનાઇટેડ કિંગડમ, નોર્વે અને ફ્રાન્સ જેવા દેશો આ કોન્ફરન્સમાં કન્ટ્રી પાર્ટનર તરીકે સહભાગી બન્યા છે. બ્રિટિશ કાઉન્સિલ, ટાઈમ હાયર એજ્યુકેશન, વર્લ્ડ બેંક, યુનેસ્કો, યુનિસેફ, UN Women, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development આ કોન્ફરન્સના આંતરરાષ્ટ્રીય પાર્ટનર્સ છે. એટલું જ નહીં, સ્કિલ ઇન્ડિયા, NSDC, નીતિ આયોગ, AICTE, NBA, NEDCIL અને આઈકેર નેશનલ પાર્ટનર પણ બન્યા છે. આ ઉપરાંત ઘણા એજ્યુકેશન પાર્ટનર્સ અને CII ઇન્વેસ્ટ પાર્ટનર છે. આગામી સપ્તે 10 થી 12 જાન્યુઆરી દરમિયાન વાયબ્રન્ટ ગુજરાત ગ્લોબલ સમિટ યોજાવાની જઈ રહી છે. આજે અહીં શરૂ થયેલી આ ઇન્ટરનેશનલ કોન્ફરન્સ એજ્યુકેશન સેક્ટર માટે વાયબ્રન્ટ સમિટ જ છે. કોઈ પણ દેશના સર્વાંગી વિકાસ માટે એક સુઆયોજિત શૈક્ષણિક નીતિ ખૂબ જરૂરી છે. વડાપ્રધાન શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈના નેતૃત્વમાં નવી રાષ્ટ્રીય શિક્ષણ નીતિના અમલથી દેશ આર્થિક, સામાજિક, રાજકીય, બૌદ્ધિક અને શૈક્ષણિક ક્ષેત્રે ક્રાંતિકારી પરિવર્તન માટે સજ્જ બન્યો છે. દેશમાં મૌલિક અને પ્રતિભા સંપન્ન યુવાનોના ઘડતર માટે સમયને અનુરૂપ જરૂરિયાતો પ્રમાણેની વ્યાપક શિક્ષણ વ્યવસ્થા જોઈએ તે વ્યવસ્થા પૂરી પાડવાનું મોટું કામ માન્ય વડાપ્રધાનની આગેવાનીમાં પાર પડ્યું છે. દેશના સુદૃઢ વિકાસનો પાયો નાખીને આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતના નિર્માણમાં આ પોલિસી મહત્વની ભૂમિકા ભજવશે એમાં કોઈ શંકા નથી. આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતની પરિકલ્પના હવે વાસ્તવિક સ્વરૂપ ધારણ કરી રહી છે ત્યારે નવી એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસીના સુચારુ અમલીકરણથી ગુણવત્તાયુક્ત શિક્ષણ માટે દેશમાં સાનુકૂળ માહોલ ઊભો થઈ રહ્યો છે. દેશના દરેક વર્ગ અને વિસ્તારના વિદ્યાર્થીઓ માટે ગુણવત્તાસભર શિક્ષણ સહેલાઈથી અને ઓછા ખર્ચે ઉપલબ્ધ બનાવવા પર આ પોલિસીમાં ભાર મૂકવામાં આવ્યો છે. આ ઉપરાંત આ પોલિસી અંતર્ગત ડિજિટલ ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચરના ઉપયોગ દ્વારા એજ્યુકેશન સેક્ટરમાં ગુડ ગવર્નન્સ સાકાર થાય એ પણ સુનિશ્ચિત કરવામાં આવશે. કોરોના મહામારીના કાળમાં ડિજિટલ એજ્યુકેશનની કામગીરી આપણે ખૂબ સફળતાપૂર્વક કરી છે અને આવનારા સમયમાં તેના વ્યાપમાં હજી પણ વધારો થશે. 2026 સુધીમાં સરેરાશ 30 વર્ષની આયુ સાથે ભારત દુનિયાનો સૌથી યુવા દેશ બનશે. આ ડેમોગ્રાફિક ડિવિડન્ડનો લાભ લેવા માટે શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદીની કેન્દ્ર સરકાર ભાવિ નાગરિકોને ધ્યાનમાં રાખીને કેપેસિટી બિલ્ડિંગ, સ્કિલ ડેવલપમેન્ટ, રિસર્ચ એન્ડ ઇનોવેશન માટે ઊંચા લક્ષ્યો સિદ્ધ કરી રહ્યા છીએ. આપણા યુવાનો વર્તમાન અને ભવિષ્યના પડકારોનો સામનો કરવા માટે સજ્જ થઈ મહત્વને વધુ વ્યાપક ફલક આપવા વિશ્વમાં શ્રેષ્ઠ હોય તે ગુજરાતની ધરતી પર ઉતારવાનો શિક્ષણ ક્રાંતિ યજ્ઞ આદર્યો હતો. તેમના દિશા દર્શનમાં આપણે સેક્ટર સ્પેસિફિક એજ્યુકેશન યુનિવર્સિટીની શરૂઆત પાછલા 2 દાયકાથી કરી છે. આજે ગુજરાતમાં 91 જેટલી યુનિવર્સિટીઝ, 2860 ઉપરાંત સંસ્થાઓ દ્વારા આધુનિક જ્ઞાન યુવાનોને ઘર આંગણે પીરસી રહી છે. IIM, IIT, NFSU, GNLU, PDU જેવી ખ્યાતિ પ્રાપ્ત સંસ્થાઓ અને યુનિવર્સિટીનું આ કોન્ફરન્સમાં યોગદાન છે તે પણ અભિનંદનને પાત્ર છે. હું ગૌરવભેર જણાવવા માગું છું કે ગુજરાત સરકારે નેશનલ એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસી 2020ના મુખ્ય પાસાઓ અને અનુરૂપ વિવિધ મહત્વપૂર્ણ પગલાં હાથ ધર્યા છે. 2015થી શરૂ થયેલા મુખ્યમંત્રી યુવા સ્વાવલંબન યોજના અન્વયે ગુજરાત જરૂરિયાતમંદ પ્રતિભાશાળી વિદ્યાર્થીઓને ઉચ્ચ શિક્ષણ માટે સહાય આપવામાં પણ આવી રહી છે. આ સહાયથી સ્વાવલંબનથી આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતની દિશા યુવા શક્તિને મળી રહી છે. કોવિડ મહામારીના સમયમાં વિદ્યાર્થીઓ શિક્ષણ સાથેનો સેતુ જળવાઈ રહે તે માટે સરકારની આ પહેલ ખૂબ ઉપયોગી બની છે. આ કપરા કાળમાં લગભગ તમામ શાળાઓ, કોલેજો અને યુનિવર્સિટી ખૂબ ઝડપથી સફળતાપૂર્વક ઓનલાઈન શિક્ષણનો મોડ અપનાવી શકી છે. ઘણા શિક્ષકોએ પણ શિક્ષણ અને મૂલ્યાંકનની નવી પદ્ધતિઓ અપનાવવા સફળ પ્રયોગ કર્યા. આદરણીય પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી હંમેશા કહે છે કે શિક્ષણ બનાવે કંકરમાંથી શંકર. ગુણવત્તાયુક્ત એટલે કે ક્વોલિટી એજ્યુકેશનથી ઉજ્જવળ ભાવિ પેઢી નિર્માણ માટે ગુજરાતમાં એમના માર્ગદર્શનમાં ગુણોત્સવનો નવો કોન્સેપ્ટ સફળતાપૂર્વક પાર પાડ્યો છે. સમય સાથે ચાલીને ગુજરાતે સ્માર્ટ સ્કૂલ, સ્માર્ટ ક્લાસ, ઓનલાઈન એટેન્ડન્સ, કમાન્ડ એન્ડ કંટ્રોલ સેન્ટર જેવા આધુનિક આયામોથી ક્વોલિટી એજ્યુકેશનની નવી કેડી કંડારી છે. ગુજરાતનું શિક્ષણ ક્ષેત્ર આવા અનેક મજબૂત આધારસ્તંભ પર વિકસી રહ્યું છે. આ જ આધારસ્તંભ પર નવી એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસીનો પણ ખૂબ ઝડપથી અમલ કરવા ગુજરાત પ્રતિબદ્ધ છે. આ પોલિસીના અમલીકરણથી એક નવી ઇકોસિસ્ટમ તૈયાર થશે અને આત્મનિર્ભર ગુજરાતથી આત્મનિર્ભર ભારતના નિર્માણમાં ખૂબ ઉપયોગી બની રહેશે. ભારતીય શિક્ષણ પ્રણાલી અને સંસ્કૃત ભાષાને આજે પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈના પ્રયાસોથી વૈશ્વિક સ્તરે સન્માન મળી રહ્યું છે. ભારતની સનાતન સંસ્કૃતિમાં સૌકાઓ પહેલાં ગુરુકુળ પરંપરા હતી. એ ગુરુના આશ્રમમાં અનેક વિદ્યાર્થીઓ અભ્યાસ કરતા. અત્યંત સમૃદ્ધ ગુરુકુળ પરંપરાને લીધે દેશમાં જ્ઞાનનો અનોખો મહિમા હતો. વલ્લભી, તક્ષશિલા, નાલંદા જેવી વિદ્યાપીઠો શિક્ષણ માટે વિશ્વ પ્રસિદ્ધ હતી. આર્યભટ્ટ, ભાસ્કરાચાર્ય, ચાણક્ય, પતંજલિ અને પાણીની જેવા વિદ્વાન આચાર્યો ભારતીય સંસ્કૃતિને વિશ્વને આપ્યા છે. દેશાવર્તી શિષ્યો પણ ભારતમાં ભણવા માટે આવતા હતા. સદીઓથી આપણી આવી યુનિવર્સિટીઓ જ્ઞાનના પ્રસારનું મુખ્ય કેન્દ્ર રહી છે. ICAI 2022ના ભાગરૂપે વર્લ્ડ ક્લાસ યુનિવર્સિટી અંગે વાઇસ ચાન્સેલર કોન્ક્લેવનું આયોજન પણ શરૂ છે. તે આ વાતની પુષ્ટિ કરાવે છે. આપણી યુનિવર્સિટીને વર્લ્ડ ક્લાસ બનાવવા માટે સમય સાથે કદમ મિલાવતી જરૂરી પદ્ધતિઓ, પ્રણાલીઓ, માળખાગત બાબતો અને અભિગમ અંગેના કેસ સ્ટડીઝને સમજવામાં આ કોન્ક્લેવ ઉપયોગી બનશે એવું મારું સ્પષ્ટ માનવું છે. શિક્ષણ ક્ષેત્રે થયેલા વિવિધ ઇનોવેશન્સ તેમજ ભવિષ્યમાં કેવા ઇનોવેશન સંભવ છે તેને સમજવાનો અવસર અહીં આયોજિત વાઇબ્રન્ટ એક્ઝિબિશનથી સૌને મળશે. નેશનલ એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસી 2020ની ફળ સ્વરૂપે દેશની શિક્ષણ પ્રણાલીનું ચિત્ર બદલાઈ રહ્યું છે. વિદ્યાર્થીઓની જિજ્ઞાસા વૃત્તિ તેમજ સંશોધન ક્ષમતામાં પણ આનાથી ચોક્કસ મોટો વધારો થશે. શિક્ષણ ક્ષેત્રની આ સુઆયોજિત પહેલના લીધે આપણો દેશ વૈશ્વિક સ્તરે ખૂબ ઝડપથી વધુ સ્પર્ધાત્મક બની શકશે. ભારતીય તત્વજ્ઞાનમાં તો જ્ઞાન, સત્ય અને પ્રજ્ઞાને સમજવાનું સર્વોચ્ચ લક્ષ્ય માનવામાં આવ્યું છે. મનુષ્યની આંતરિક સંભાવનાઓ પૂર્ણ રીતે ખીલી ઉઠે, સમૃદ્ધ સમાજનું નિર્માણ અને રાષ્ટ્રનો વિકાસ થાય, સાથોસાથ ચારિત્રવાન પેઢીનું ઘડતર થાય, એ માટે પણ શિક્ષણ એ પાયાની આવશ્યકતા છે. શિક્ષણ એવું હોવું જોઈએ જે વ્યક્તિને સારી રોજગારી તો આપે જ, સાથે સાથે ચારિત્રનું ઘડતર પણ કરે. વ્યક્તિને નૈતિક, તર્કબદ્ધ, કરુણામય અને અન્યોની દરકાર રાખનાર બનાવે તેવા શિક્ષણના પ્રસાર અને પ્રચાર અને વૈચારિક આદાન પ્રદાન માટે આ સમિટ એક ઉત્તમ મંચ બનશે. પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈએ દેશને આપેલી નેશનલ એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસી એમાં ઉદ્દીપક બનશે. શિક્ષણ ક્ષેત્રના પરસ્પર શ્રેષ્ઠ અનુભવોના આદાન પ્રદાનથી આ સમિટ ગુજરાતને ગ્લોબલ એજ્યુકેશન હબ ચોક્કસ બનાવશે જ. મને વિશ્વાસ છે કે નવી એજ્યુકેશન પોલિસીના અસરકારક અમલીકરણમાં તેમજ સૌ સ્ટેક હોલ્ડર્સ દ્વારા આ પોલિસીના લક્ષ્યાંકોની સિદ્ધિમાં કોન્ફરન્સનું યોગદાન મહત્વનું બનશે. આ સમિટને ફરી એકવાર સફળતાની શુભેચ્છાઓ પાઠવી વિરમું છું. જય જય ગરવી ગુજરાત. ભારત માતા કી જય. વંદે માતરમ.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Minister, sir, for that very enlightening address. And with that, we conclude this session. We take this opportunity to thank Honorable Chief Minister, Honorable Minister of Education, Government of Gujarat, and other dignitaries on the dais for their valuable presence. We also extend our gratitude to all our representatives and delegates from India and around the globe, academicians, researchers, students, stakeholders, corporates, and all others who have lent their support to this conference. We acknowledge the support of our country partners, international partners, national partners, and educational partners. A special word of thanks for members of the print and electronic media. With that, we conclude this session. We request all liaising officers to escort and accompany their dignitaries. We now take a short break for a warm cup of tea to reassemble for the first technical session.